how do you want us to see you?
Mhm. I think again it goes back to my previous response. It depends on the situation, the setting. I try to show up in the world in a way that is, you know, honest and welcoming. Um, I remember when I was being raised, different people in my network would tell me different things about being a man, and one of those things is like you're too nice. Like a lot of people said to me, "Oh, you're too nice. People are gonna run all over you. Um, you can't give people any type of inch because they'll take a mile." And so those were a lot of messages that I heard because I've always just kind of wanted to have the believe people's intentions and all that. And I think I try to return to that. I think it's easy to become calloused and to not have faith in people, to be very cynical. And so I've tried to just stay true to who I am.
Hi, and welcome to another edition of King Crush Thursday, the series where we highlight and uplift Black men, because frankly, not too many people are doing it. My name is Val Gay, and I'm super excited to bring this brother to you today. He is a scholar. He's a researcher, a public health scholar. He has extensive academic experience, and he's an all-around great guy. So please welcome Dr. Darrell Hudson. Hi, Darrell.
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. So Darrell, thank you so much for participating in this forum where we are creating a repository of 6 questions, and we have already surpassed 100 answers by 100 different positive and successful Black men. It is a dream come true. So excited about it. When I set the deadline or the end at 100, I think I might have been around episode, 15, 21, something like that. 100 seemed so far away at that point. And now I was like, woo, it happened so fast.
Yeah.
Week by week, on a weekly basis, right? And so I'm grateful because ultimately the goal is for a young king who may or may not have positive Black male role models to come to this repository, see these same 6 questions answered by all of these different men, and hopefully be able to find guidance there. And then for the rest of us who are neither male or even Black, to also be able to take a peek into this community that is often maligned, that's often myopically and very narrowly portrayed in the media, to see that there is a wide array of people who happen to have this identity, and that perhaps we can expand our overall vision of and respect for Black men. And so I'm so glad that you're here to contribute to this repository. And so we're going to get started with the first question, which is, what does manhood mean to you?
Yeah, well, thanks again for inviting me, first of all, and hats off to you for this outstanding work. And that sounds amazing to hear all these different perspectives and from all these different folks having those same questions to kind of guide things. I think that's really awesome. And hopefully what I say will be of benefit, as you mentioned, to someone out there, whether they're a Black man or someone else. And so when I think about manhood, what it means to me, I really think about it from like an intersectional perspective. So I think about being a man, I think about being Black, being a Black man and the context that I'm in. If I'm in an all Black space or if I'm in a mixed space, a predominantly white space, all these different identities show up. And then there's other stuff like social class, so my education and my responsibility to my family and my social network and how I represent. It's a whole lot, and all the different affiliations that come with me as well. So, I think when I think about being a man, that's the lens that I come from. It's like the combination of all these different identities, and yeah, it's really difficult to say like, oh, this is my stance on manhood. This is what being a man is, and especially in kind of like the typical like tropes of masculinity. I try to think about being a man and showing up how I am, and that's I just turned 43 last week, and so just trying to think. This it's a work in progress. It's iterative, in how I show up, how I feel comfortable showing up, my confidence in myself, in different spaces, in different contexts and situations. But yeah, it's really this combination of the influences in my life as well. So identity and influence is how I would say it. It's the different identities and then the different influences that, made me who I am and whose shoulders I'm standing on. So like I was raised by my grandmother and she was old when I was born. And she was from Mississippi and, I was born and raised in Detroit. She migrated in the great migration in the 30s or early 40s into Detroit. And so kind of like how I learned about how being a human being, a lot of that came from her. And so the patience that I have, humility, things like that, a lot of those influences came from her and similarly, other prominent women in my life. So I think that's important. It's interesting hearing, about being a man, but also being strongly influenced by women. So I think that's important to acknowledge as well.
That's really awesome. Excellent. Thank you so much. And happy belated birthday. That's wonderful. Absolutely. And so, Darrell, who and or what is important to you?
Mm-hmm. Well, I have a 10-year-old daughter. That's the first person that I think of who comes to mind. Just trying to shape her into a healthy and happy human being, a productive citizen. I think my network is really important to me. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the investments into me. Some of those have been literal investments in terms of finances. Some of them have been just time and guidance and mentorship, different opportunities. So one of my goals in life is to try to pay it forward. So I try to do what I can to help other people out. It's been many a time before I got to where I am now in life, where I had a lot of doubt, didn't have the confidence that I have right now, and didn't know what the pathway forward would be. And so I think about those moments where there was really like a fork in the road and I had to make a decision. And, having people around me who were being positive impressions on me meant a lot. And so I think those are the folks that, I wake up in the morning, I think about those folks. Prominently, I think, my, as I mentioned, being born and raised in Detroit is, like many places across the country, has a lot of good parts, a lot of bad parts, and everything in between. So, one of my biggest motivations in life was my younger siblings, or is my younger siblings. I lost my siblings in a house fire when I was 19. I was a sophomore in college at Morehouse. And a lot of people don't know that about me. So now all your listeners do. But that was really a tragic moment. And it took me a lot when I think about masculinity and health and all those types of things. Like I really was frozen. It was just shocking. I didn't know what to do. didn't know where to go next, didn't know how to get help. I could have went either way. I could have went a very different pathway than I am now. And at a very young age, I decided that I wasn't going to give in to like the temptation to do nothing, because that was a strong temptation. It was probably depression, it was probably grief, etc. I didn't know how to articulate it at the time, but there was certainly a feeling to just stop life, just unplug, and just kind of. I knew that I would have that sympathy from people, where people were like, oh, wow, yeah, a lot of promise and potential, but he just, that was too much to deal with, and so he just kind of faded away. And I was like, I'm not going to let that. I'm not going to dishonor the memories of my siblings and do that. I'm going to try to do the opposite and be something bigger and greater, because they didn't get a chance to live that out themselves. So I would say those are probably the two sets of folks that I think about, every day. My grandmother as well. I said she didn't have to raise me. I asked her when she was older. Well, I was older. Well, I can understand the magnitude of her sacrifice. And I said, Grandma, you really saved me. Why did you do that? And she said, I thought you were worth saving. Just that simple. And so, those are, my grandmother, my siblings, and my daughter are probably the reasons why. What I do.
Wow. What an amazing story. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry for your loss. I'm sorry for all of our loss. I'm at the loss of your siblings, but I'm really grateful that you plowed through that. Thank you. Thank you so much. And so how do you want us to see you?
Mm-hmm. I think, again, it goes back to my previous response. It depends on the situation, the setting. I try to show up in the world in a way that is, honest and welcoming. I remember when I was being raised, different people in my network would tell me different things about being a man. And one of those things is like, you're too nice. Like, a lot of people said to me, oh, you're too nice. People are going to run all over you. You can't give people any type of inch because they'll take a mile. And so those were a lot of messages that I heard, because I've always just kind of wanted to have believe people's intentions and all that. And I think I try to return to that. I think it's easy to become calloused and to not have faith in people, to be very cynical. And so I've tried to just stay true to who I am. And, sometimes that gets me into situations where I don't want to be, but other times it works out great. And so I think it's important for me to just be who I am, and let people figure out, and I try not to be too concerned about how other people perceive me. Like, I do like to make a good presentation. Like, I like to dress well. I like to, be sharp and things like that. I think that's more just who I am. I've embraced that as I've gotten. Well, I used to feel bad for like spending time in front of my closet and trying to figure out what I was going to wear, and coordinate it all. I'm like, well, that's just what I do, and people see that and they appreciate that about me. So, and those are some of the things I think about in terms of how I show up.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you. I just had a mental image of you standing in front of your closet, like, okay, now what's going to happen today, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it is. It's like, okay, what do I have to do? Do I have in-person meetings? Am I on camera? Am I, am I teaching?
Right.
What is it going to be today?
All right. That's awesome. Excellent. Excellent. So what is your epic dream?
I'm sorry, the epic dream?
What is your epic dream?
That's a good question. I think a few different things. It's hard to have like one singular dream. So one of my dreams is to establish a scholarship for named for my great uncle. So my great uncle is a Morehouse graduate. He graduated in 1929. This is my grandmother's brother, her older brother. He was the oldest child. He ended up moving to Atlanta from Mississippi, worked throughout college up in Detroit, where I'm from, working for Ford and GM to pay his way through school. Ended up moving to New Jersey, like central New Jersey, where he was kind of far away from the rest of the family. The rest of the family was in Mississippi and other parts of the Midwest, so like Detroit, St. Louis, places like that, Chicago. He was like the only dot of New Jersey. But, so I didn't know a whole lot about him. But my grandmother always said he was very frugal. He saved. He was diligent in terms of his work. And he was very serious about education. I found out how serious he was about education when I was going to college. So I was in my senior year trying to figure out where I was going to go to college. And so I applied to Morehouse just because I always heard about it and thought it was a good school. And then my great uncle passed. And again, because of the distance, it wasn't like, you have people in your family and you learn about, different things that happen to them. And he was quite old too. He was like in his upper 90s. So anyway, I found out that he left a trust fund for us to go to school. So he had set up a trust. One of my uncles is a lawyer who had, was like the executor of the trust. And that's how I paid for college. And so one of my epic dreams is to make a return on that investment and establish a larger scholarship fund in his name. And so there's a lot of things that have to happen to do that in terms of like me making a lot of money and being able to fundraise and stuff like that. I have some nascent dreams of like being an academic administrator and other types of things. But if I could think about like one thing I definitely want to accomplish before I leave this place, it would be the establishment of that fund.
That is so incredible. So I should tell you, I'm also a certified financial planner, and I ran fundraising for the College of Education at Temple University for years. And you don't have to make a lot of money in order to do it. It's easier when you do that, but you can start it. You can start today. And you can also invite other members of your family to contribute, other people who are interested, just as a little side before I forget that. It is much easier than you think, and you can make it happen. You can make it happen. Such a beautiful dream, and what a beautiful legacy to continue. So that's really, really wonderful. So awesome. Okay, so here we are at question 5, which is, Dr. Darrell Hudson, who are you?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm a lot of different things. I always start with like square one. I'm a proud Detroiter. Detroit is an interesting place because, like I said before, it's got bad and it's good, but as marginalized as we often are, and the negative media attention has been, on the city for a long time. It's a city that I'm very proud of. I know I wouldn't be here, at least in the same way that I am, if I wasn't from Detroit. I would say I'm a Black man. So I'm a proud Black man. I love, just who I am and my people. Very proud of our history, our resilience, the contributions we've made to this world. I would say I'm a Morehouse man, which is oftentimes a loaded term because people hear a lot of things about Morehouse men. But one of the things that we're taught is there's a sort of the Morehouse mystique. And so there's this idea that there's a crown placed above your head And the hope is that one day you'll grow tall enough to wear it. And so a lot of people say that, think that, and they're like, oh, okay, I'm going to be super arrogant because I've got this crown. But I see that as I'm still growing and stretching and striving to wear that crown one day. I'm a proud Michigan person, so I went to University of Michigan for grad school. So I like that trajectory that I had coming from HBCU and then going to a big university like Michigan. And it was a big deal for me because growing up, people told me, like, there's no way in the world you'll ever get into Michigan. I didn't even apply when I was coming out of high school. And so having the opportunity to go there and be shaped by the folks that are there in terms of my mentors and whatnot means a big deal to me. I'm an alpha man, so I'm a member of Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. I think about that. One reason why I wanted to be in a fraternity is because I wanted to be part of living history. And so, there's an outstanding legacy and some prominent members like Martin Luther King Jr., Thurgood Marshall, and others. But I was like, there's contemporary leaders too. And hopefully one day I'll get a chance to be a part of, the halls of that legacy. And right now I think being a father is super important to me. That's something I think about, especially raising a 10-year-old Black girl. There's a lot of things that I think about in terms of being a provider, being a role model, how I talk to her. I try not to try to let her feel her feelings and not tell her what she shouldn't be feeling and whatnot, which is a very different form of parenting than I got. But, just trying to do a good job with her. So she could be a healthy, happy, full human being when she's, come of age. So those are my primary things to identify with. And, I would assume that people assign to me. I think being an academic is a big thing too. There's not a lot of people like me in the academy. And so I take that very seriously. A lot of times I think my voice is weighted more for better or worse because there isn't as many Black men in the academy. And not just Black men, but having a perspective that I have. I remember being a health equity researcher when I was on a job market years ago. Someone asked me, a lot of people do health equity work. What's different about how you do this work or what you do? And I said, to be honest, the biggest thing for me is that a lot of people can describe this work, but they haven't experienced it. And for me, I've experienced a lot of things that I study, which of course, introduces bias, but I think it enhances the work that I do because I know there's numbers. I know there's numbers and figures, but I know there's people behind all those numbers and figures. And there's a lot of people in my network, in my family, et cetera, who I'm always thinking about when I do the work that I'm doing. So those are just a few things that I think about.
That's awesome. Awesome. Excellent. Thank you. So we're at question 6 already, which is there anything that I should have asked you that I didn't ask you or you wanted me to ask you that I didn't? In other words, what did I miss?
I think that's a pretty good, I like the big, broad, lofty questions. It kind of pulls you, at least for me, it gets me to stop thinking about what I'm doing in this particular role on this day. And it gets me to think about the why. Why am I doing this? What are some of my origin? This is the origin story, And so I think that's really important. And hopefully it'd be beneficial to others. I guess the only thing I would say maybe would be unsolicited advice that people would benefit from, maybe.
Okay. Well, do you have an answer for that?
I know I gotta be careful with that. I mean, especially if I'm speaking to young Black men, I always tell them a couple different things. One is you have to be okay being an individual and being who you are. Because anybody who's ever done anything meaningful has been okay being on the margins at some point in their life. Whether it's a musician who comes up with some innovative sound, or a civil rights leader, a religious leader, people have always been not at the center. And so I think you have to be comfortable with not being at the center, especially if you're a Black man, because I think there's a lot of pressures to conform to norms that are not healthy. And so, people will ridicule you if you're smart. They'll ridicule you if you're too nice like me, or you don't have some idealized body type or something like that. Whatever the case may be, I think it's important to just be comfortable in who you are. And then I think accordingly to have people in your life that value you and know you and want the best for you, and to listen to those people. Because again, people will tell you different things and they want to see you fail. Whether it's, intentional, like I want to pull down as many people as I can. I don't think people wake up with that intention, but I think that sometimes it's just the human nature. Like, I want people to be like me, or what I identify as cool or in vogue. And so I think it's really important to resist those temptations. And to me, what was important was to listen to people who really had invested in me. And so those are two things that I would say in terms of unsolicited advice that I will offer up to folks.
That's awesome. It's great advice. Thank you. Thank you for that. And I'm really grateful, for your presence in the world. This whole concept of being too nice, whatever that means. You just keep on, please, being nice. We need more niceness in this world, especially in the world of so much anger and vitriol. Like, niceness to me, is a nice thing. It's a good thing. So thank you for that. And I just want to honor you, my king. And I do pray that all your epic dreams come true sooner rather than later, and that you will continue to grow deeper and wider, especially being a girl dad and all of those things, all of your multiple identities. I think it's just really wonderful to see you embody those and articulate it in that way. It's just really wonderful. So thank you so much for being here, and stay right there, because I want to thank the audience for joining us today. I really hope that you enjoyed and appreciated this conversation as much as I did. If there is a positive and successful Black man in your life, please feel free to click the link below and in my bio, fill out the nomination form, and we'll take it from there. While we have surpassed our initial goal, phase 1 of 100 positive and successful Black men, there is no real reason why we should stop this. And, some of you who I know watch every single week and know all the brothers that we have highlighted here, you know how enriching it is, not only for you, but the people who you share these with. And so thank you for that. And I should also say, as a reminder, success does not equal what one does necessarily for a living, caveat being that it's legal, but that really is about the content of their character. And that if there is a man who's had positive impacts on the communities around them, starting with the nuclear family to the community writ large and everyone in between, those are the brothers that we want to also to contribute to this narrative, so that we can see the great expanse of Black manhood and the positive impact it is having on the rest of us. And so please stay tuned next week for yet another amazing king. And in the meantime, please remember to spread love and have a great day. Thank you so much. And Darrell, thank you so much. That was really, really wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.